Hello, everybody. I am Goose, and you're watching On With the Show. Thank you so much for coming back to the podcast. And today's topic is an interesting one because I heard about something that happened in Las Vegas about a week ago, and I had a hard time believing it because I couldn't believe it. I thought that can't be right. And it all started with the Heart Attack Grill in Las Vegas. Got me to thinking about how some of the things the owner said from the Heart Attack Grill also reminds me of some things going on at Disney. So we're going to do a correlation here on this podcast of how is Vegas and Disney alike. So we're going to get into that podcast. So just hold on. Let me get on it over the OBS, and we're going to get started. By the way, if I haven't already, I hope you all had a great Memorial Day. It's one of the biggest reasons why I'm wearing this hat today. I love this hat. But from the Fox News headline reads, iconic Las Vegas burger joint closes its doors, blames rising costs for city's decline. Bypass Burger Spot said it's proud of our 21-year impact on America's waistline as it seeks new locations. This written by Andrea Margolis on the 19th of May. It goes on to say the Heart Attack Grill, the over-the-top Las Vegas restaurant known for its calorie-loaded bypass burgers and hospital-themed servers, announced this week it will close its Sin City doors. The restaurant was founded by John Basso in Chandler, Arizona, 2005. It relocated to downtown Las Vegas, 2011. It's most known for its unapologetically indulgent menu, including massive burgers, fries, cooked in pure lard, even unfiltered cigarettes. As I got a notification on something. Yeah, and as a matter of fact, if you have not seen videos of some of this stuff, it is like outrageous. It'd be something, I mean, even I couldn't believe how big some of these burgers were. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it right now. Some of the Heart Attack Grill's most provocative gimmicks included public spankings for customers who failed to finish their meals, plus free food for patrons weighing more than 350 pounds. Last year, I probably could have come close to doing that. I have since lost a deal of weight. In a statement on its website, the Heart Attack Grill said it would not be renewing its long-term lease. Let me just go to that right now. It says Heart Attack Grill will not be renewing its long-term lease. This decision stems from the reality that major casinos have intentionally priced the average person out of the quintessential American experience of affordable indulgence. The soul of Las Vegas has been replaced by corporate greed. Our core value, eat big and laugh loud, no longer fits a city peddling $40 artisanal avocado toast. The honest, heavy-duty calories that built our reputation are now considered gauche by a city that has excluded the middle class and lost its swagger in the process. And I do agree with that. We're proud of our 21-year impact on America's waistline. The obesity rate has risen from 30%. It has risen 30% since we opened in 2005 to nearly 45% today. And we pat ourselves on the back for leading the charge. I don't know if that's something you really want to be proud of. I mean, there's no flex for obesity, all right? Let me just put it like that. You get a lot of... I can tell you for firsthand experience, there is a lot of health problems that come with obesity. For those loyal to HAG, do not despair. This is not the end of the world's most controversial restaurant. It is merely the beginning of a new chapter. We are seeking new opportunities to continue our high-calorie mission. We look forward to finding new communities that still appreciate a bypass burger and the freedom to feast without apology. And yeah, if you go to this is on heartattackgrill.com. I'm going to show the video. And if you can come right down here and you can leave a little comment, your address. You can be an investor, a reporter, a loyal fan. or a hater. You know, I'm sure they have their share of haters. Let's go to the video that talks about this. This is from Fox 5 in Las Vegas.
Starts now.
Downtown Las Vegas and the Fremont Street Experience play host to millions of tourists a year. There is a spot really for anybody down there. Bars, karaoke, casinos, and restaurants. And in a shocking move, one of the big restaurants there has closed its doors suddenly. That would be the Heart Attack Grill, which has attracted Fremont Street patrons with its hospital-themed gimmicks and massive burgers for 15 years.
But the owner of the restaurant announced yesterday that he is closing the doors for good. Fox 5's Evan Leake talked with him about the fiery message he shared about why he felt it is time to shut down.
A lot of passion and emotion coming from John Basso after his decision to close the Heart Attack Grill, what has literally been a cornerstone at Las Vegas Boulevard and Fremont Street inside Leontopolis since 2011, a decision that John says comes down to the best interest of not just himself, but the people that he serves.
I've seen it on TikTok. Like, 350 pounds, you get to eat free. I was hoping I get to eat free.
Tourists turning up to Fremont Street, finding out the Heart Attack Grill has closed its doors. An unexpected and passionate announcement made by the restaurant's owner, John Basso, on Monday.
It's really strange to be talking to you right now because I don't have the lab coat on. I don't have the stethoscope. I'm not Dr. John right now.
Dr. John, Basso's restaurant persona for more than 2 decades, is no more, along with the restaurant. A move Basso attributes to a changing culture in Las Vegas since the pandemic.
When we came out of COVID, suddenly the big bosses in the corporate casino culture changed the game. They needed to make up some money that they had lost, and it was by playing catch-up ball, in my opinion, they decided to go for the whales rather than the regular folks.
Basso told Fox 5 he feels the average person has been priced out of Las Vegas. The decision to not renew his lease for Heart Attack Grill stems from not wanting to follow suit.
But I did not like overcharging people. And every month you had to look at it and say, gosh, we've got to raise prices. And you do it a couple times, it bothers you. When you're faced with doing that repetitively, I want nothing to do with it.
I think that's super awesome that he respects people's money like that, and he doesn't want to overcharge everybody, and I think that's a great thing personally.
Basso is still in the burger game, working with his family at his other restaurant in town, Snappy's. While he's grateful for
So you know where to go for a burger now to talk to Dr. John. He's over at Snappy's.
what the Heart Attack Grill was, he tells us he's happier to serve food at what he feels is a reasonable price.
We make the best burger we can, and we keep the prices low. And I couldn't do that in the tourist sector. It's not possible.
John did tell me that the Heart Attack Grill isn't necessarily gone for good. He has had investors reach out trying to see if they can bring it back. So he did tell me that Dr. John may come back, the Heart Attack Grill may come back, as long as it's under his terms to best serve customers. Reporting outside the Fremont Street Experience, I'm Evan Leake for Fox 5 News, local Las Vegas.
All right, so it's not entirely gone. So the Heart Attack Grill could come back. He's looking for new investors. There people have talked to him, but he wants to do it on his terms. He doesn't want to have to start charging anybody. He doesn't want to have to charge people so much for his food that it just seems ridiculous. And here's the thing, me personally, I mean, I have not been to Vegas. That's why it's not on my bucket list. On our other channel, Travel By Nature, we're hoping that once we get to 10,000 subscribers, we're gonna go to do a week over at in Vegas, and just to check the place out. But that's the thing is first of all, I don't think the whales are going to go to Vegas. I mean, they might vacation there, but in order to get a whale, you're hoping that they not just spend a lot of money, but they're going to gamble a lot of money as well. And I think as it says here, as he said here, it priced out the average American. It priced out the average American. for Vegas, I mean, it used to be, I don't know if it still is, but I remember it was heavily advertised for single young people to go. And you're 21 now, you go gamble, you go drink, you can have some fun. It's called Sin City. You go participate in some things you wouldn't be able to do. They tried the family thing. And I do think that they still have things there for families to do. Not a lot, but I think that they do have stuff for families to kind of do, Circus, and Excalibur, and all the other stuff there. I do agree that, if you continue to raise prices, you're going to continue to price out people, where you're in less of, I've been hearing all the last several months that Vegas is suffering because not as many people are going to Vegas like they used to. They used to have buses full of senior citizens with their Social Security checks there to be sitting on the, gambling their money away on the slot machines, hoping to hit that big jackpot. When you price out people and you're hoping to get the whales, you make things too expensive, people aren't going to go. Well, where did my brain go with this? It went to Disney. Because I've said it for Disney several times, that it's becoming so expensive there, they're pricing out the ordinary family, which goes against what Walt Disney wanted. Walt Disney built Disneyland for families to go and enjoy something together. Now they're pricing it up. But let's just go with the first one here. This is from headline reads. This is from Disney Tourist Blog by Tim Bricker. This was May 15th. Disney CFO claims the parks are full. Disney World attendance, wait times, and deals suggest otherwise. Disney CFO Hugh Johnston appeared at the 2026 Moffett-Nathanson Media Internet and Communications Conference, asserted that Walt Disney World cannot increase attendance because the parks are already filled up. According to who? I'd like to figure that out. This post covers his comments, the parallels to the past statements by the company leadership. For starters, Johnston is reiterating that what we've been hearing for a while, the same line of logic has been used since the turbocharge announcement a few years ago, and it's arguably what sold Wall Street on the company investing $60 billion in the theme park expansion in the first place. Even if critical of the accuracy of Johnston's statements, we can certainly get behind the spirit messaging is intended to audience. If this is what convinces analysts and investors that this is not just correct course of action, but the necessary one. I did read this before I came out here. Then case closed. Sorry, folks, the parks are full. The mouse out front should have told you. During the conference, Johnston was asked about the balance of building out capacity experience. Without the expansion, we don't necessarily have the ability to grow attendance massively because it's already filled up. Now we could jam more people into the park, but then the guest experience declines. And that's actually bad for the brand. So you don't want us to do that. And we think that's a good idea. So when we add capacity, without a doubt, it creates the opportunity we're seeing in Paris right now, basically allow more people into the park. As a good analyst, you could. So basically he's saying, the place is full. The place is full. Disney has a long, rich history of tailoring its messaging to talk up its actions. That is true. Whatever they are doing, it's going to be emphasized as positive. Although the argument could just be easily be made that it's less of the tail wags the dog situation. Disney makes the right decision for his business and then explains that accordingly. Regardless of what we've heard a lot of messaging about Disney's approach to pricing and discounting along with crowds, the attendance over the years. Back in 2010, then Chairman of Parks Jay Rasulo stated that Disney World planned to slow wean our guests off discounting. Let me highlight again. Slowly wean our guests off discounting. They don't want to discount anything anymore. Rasulo and then Bob Iger talked about ending deep discounting on countless earning calls. They indicated these extreme measures put in place by Disney to prop up attendance and occupancy during the height of the recession were no longer necessary. They talked about how expansion coming online would mean the end of discounts and more price growth. All right, well then let's go to all ears. It says Disney World attendance is down, but execs aren't worried. This is by Jaden Green, posted May 6th of this year. Disney held its earnings call and released its earnings report for the second quarter, 2026. That report gave us something really interesting to what's going on with the company. One thing stood out was the attendance numbers at Disney parks around the world. Disney's outlook going forward, Disney is seriously focused on how great attendance is going to be, despite the numbers showing it's down. Okay, so the attendance is going down, but everything's fine. I'm the emperor, and these are my new clothes. First things first, let's take a look at the attendance numbers for Disney parks and experiences quarter two. Domestic international parks, along with passenger cruise lines, grew 2% compared to the prior year. However, attendance at domestic parks declined 1% compared to the prior year quarter, reflecting in part continued softness on international visitation. So here it is. They're saying that the domestic and international growth attendance, along with the cruise line, grew 2%. But compared to the decline in the domestic parks, declined 1 year. So in other words, the international parks and the cruise lines are doing great, but domestically, it's going down. Despite the attendance numbers being down at the domestic parks, which are the Disneyland Resort and Walt Disney World, we are encouraged by current demand and expect year-over-year attendance at our domestic parks quarter three to show improvement compared to quarter two. So they're basically they're like, yeah, they're down quarter two, but they're going to go up quarter three. Yeah, I know a lot of you are like, why is this? Guess why do you so what? Seasons change because, and I'll explain this on the other side. It's already showing because year after year, they keep raising ticket prices. Year after year, they keep raising prices on food and merch and everything else. The Orlando Sentinel on its business tourism, Disney leaders optimistic about theme parks despite attendance dip. I just saw this. Written by Dwayne Bevel and May 6, 2026. And are you not going to let me read this now? I just had this all set to go, and now you're saying, oh, okay, well, fine, screw you then. I will not go any further. Take you out. Anyway, so let's go back to all ears. International parks have always had a draw to Disney fans around the world. This is just a sidebar. This is what happens sometimes when you go live. You record it live, and all of a sudden things change as you're putting things together. And that got you. But international Disney parks have always had draw to Disney fans around the world, and that got even more this year with Disneyland Paris. March 2026, Disneyland Paris opened its newly reimagined Disney Adventure World. This new park came with a highly anticipated World of Frozen. Along with the Frozen-inspired land, the park also had areas of attractions themed to Pixar and Tangled with iconic movies like Up and Lion King to the park soon. So basically what's happening here is the international parks are outdoing the domestic parks. Why? Because they're putting in expansion, they're putting in new parks in these other places. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're using our money domestically to fund those things internationally. Now, from what I've heard and what I've been told, the Japanese parks are far superior to the domestic parks. They say Tokyo Sea is the best Disney park of all the parks, and that's one of the reasons why I want to go to Tokyo, because I want to see. I like to see things for myself, and so this kind of goes into correlation with what's going on with Disney and Vegas. Is kind of being mashed together. I'll explain this on the other side of this. So let me shut the OBS off, and I will talk to you in just a minute. All right, so how is Vegas like Disney, and how is Disney like Vegas? Well, first of all, as I've said in prior podcasts about Disney, eventually they've lost their way as far as who is their customer base. I have felt like this for a while. I mean, again, Walt Disney built Disneyland so that families could come together and do something together at a park. And yet, I think what has happened is Disney has realized, rather than leaning on families, and I mean, I'm sure families go to Disney parks. I'm sure that they still, but I think there's been this one term that we've heard so pronouncedly in the last 2 years that I think Disney has decided to lean in on this particular customer base to pay for all of the expensive stuff. And that is this thing called Disney Adult. Now, I am not saying Disney adults should not go to parks. What I'm saying is that Disney's taking advantage of Disney adults because they realize they've got all the money. They've got no kids to spend on. They can spend it all on us and the experiences that they had. And then, we know that when they start having kids, they've already have learned how to spend all this money on themselves. So why not spend a little more money when they bring little Johnny and little Nancy, and I'm just making up names, to the parks? Because they won't mind that. Sure, they've already spent this kind of money when they were adults. They can spend a little bit of extra with little Jimmy and little Nancy. And that's what they're doing. They're lulling us into a sense of comfort with these prices. People have asked me what I think what Josh D'Amaro and what Disney should do. And they're always I can't remember the amount of things. I do know there are certain things I think that would drive them absolutely nuts. Because here's the thing. I bowed this question out to everybody. Is it better to have fewer people in the parks or the casinos spending more money? Or is it better to have more people in the parks and casinos spending a little bit, where the prices are a little less? Because I think that's where both Vegas and Disney have kind of dropped the ball. They've made things so expensive that the only people that are going to these destinations are the people that have money to burn. These are the people that have money that they have no problem in losing and spending. And they forget about the people that, have just a little bit. I remember, like I said, I've never been to Vegas. I've been to Tahoe and I've been to Reno. And one of the things I remember very distinctly the last time I was in Reno was that we were in this one casino and they had like a steak and egg meal for like $2. And I remember, showing my wife, look, we can get ourselves a cheap meal here. It may not be the best meal ever, but we can get a cheap meal here. And so she was kind of like, well, why would they sell something like that so cheap? Because when you have just gambled away all your life savings and you're hungry, you need to go get something to eat. And here's a place I can get steak and eggs for $2. And here's the thing, because we're actually doing our research on Vegas because we do plan on going to Vegas. And it's like we want to hit certain casinos, we want to hit certain rides, we want to do certain foods and buffets, and we're finding out that things are expensive all over. It's not like we have a cache of money in the bank in the vault or whatever that we could just go into Vegas and have a good time. And it's the same thing with the last year we were at our 4th trip to Disney World. It was probably the most stressful trip we ever had. But we had a great time. We had a lot of fun. The crazy part is that things continue. The ticket prices continue to go up at Disney. Food continues to be more expensive. They have this. If there's one thing I could tell Josh tomorrow, is a couple of things. One, all rides on the Lightning Lane. None of these premium ride things like excuse me. None of this, you can get the Lightning Lane. Oh, but if you want to ride this ride, you got to spend extra money. If you want to ride Rise of the Resistance, you got to pay $20 a person. If you have the Lightning Lane for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, you need to pay $15 a person. No. Put all the rides on the Lightning Lane service, no premium rides at all. And I know you're all sitting there, you'd be pulling your hair. Oh my God, that means would you really be losing money? Or would you actually have more people participate in the Lightning Lane service? Think about, you could spend a couple extra dollars on the Lightning Lane service, go from $13 to $15, whatever, to add those rides in there. But for you to sit there and say you have to pay a premium, I've already spent money on Lightning Lanes per person. Now you want me to pay extra for these particular rides. That's insane. I think I did that once. And I'm still thinking, back then I was okay. I had the money. Now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, that's insane. That's crazy. You want me to spend $20 a person to ride this ride for a Lightning Lane, or spend 4 hours in line to get to the front? That's insane. You are so do away with these premium Lightning Lane things and just like everything's on the Lightning Lane. Everything's on the Lightning Lane. I would also rather than if you really, really because I know that the other thing are ticket prices. And so they're sitting there, well, on peak times of the year, we should be able to raise ticket prices. Okay, fine. Then here's the other thing. On those non-peak times, how about you make everything, I don't know, $75 a ticket, $100 a ticket. Make it, I remember I was looking at the sign, and they were like, I can't even remember when it was, but I think it was back in the 80s or 90s. And it was like, there was to purchase not a ticket, but an annual pass at that time. To purchase an annual pass, it was $100. $100 for an annual pass. I remember, and I think it was like $35 a ticket per person for an adult. And I remember I showed my family that, and they're like, oh my gosh, when was it ever that cheap? Well, back when I was younger. They've just, Disney continues to price out families without even blinking an eye, because they fully believe that they can make it up. They fully believe, and this is just my opinion, that they can charge this kind of money because they know that Disney adults, whether they're single with some friends, boyfriend and girlfriend, maybe a married couple with no kids, they can go. They can go because they don't have it. But my gosh, to do the very thing, which is to price out families, which is the one thing that Walt Disney did not. He wanted, again, like I said, he built Disneyland to have families be able to come and enjoy a day together at the park. So I think that there has to be something, you know, whether you're going to Vegas or whether you're going to Disney, there has to be something to where you're going to have to figure out how to include those that, you know, are your, because like I said, if you're reaching for these, if you're Vegas, if you're truly reaching for the whale, how many whales are really out there in the ocean? Because I can tell you there are probably more clownfish than whales. You're hoping to get, it's like, let me just finish it with this, all right? You're fishing on a boat and you fling that line out there and you snag a beautiful marlin and you're, oh my gosh, and you pull it back up and you go, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, look what you got. That marlin, that thing is huge, man. It's going to go on. And you're like, no, throw it back. What? Yeah, throw it back. I want a whale. I want to snag a whale. You see the ridiculousness of this? I mean, you know, if you're going to go for the whale, you better be prepared to really have to wait. And you better have some really good bait for that whale. And while you're waiting for that whale to snag on, you're watching all these other fish just swim by. Sharks, swordfish, marlins, all the stuff you could be getting, but you want that whale. I gotta have that whale. And then you price out everybody in the process to get your whale. Sooner or later, I think sooner or later, both Vegas and Disney are going to have to, someone's going to have to sit there and go, you know, we need to restructure something to bring more people to our resorts. More people. Because if you're having empty hotel rooms and no one's going to your parks and no one's going to your casinos and sooner or later, you're going to have to sit there and figure out, okay, how do we bring more people to our resorts? All right. I have said enough on this today. Thank you so much for watching the show. If you haven't already, go down, subscribe to the channel. Bang that bell for notifications. Bang, bang, bang the bell for notifications. So you always know when new podcasts are uploaded to YouTube. Give me a big like on the video, because it does help me with the algorithm. And it tells me that these are the kind of topics you want me to cover. Share this out to your friends, family, and neighbors. Let them know what I'm doing over here with the show. And do me another favor. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this topic. Let me know, what do you think that things have got to change at Vegas and at Disney in order to attract more people? Or do you think that they're fine? And, you know, if people want to spend that kind of money, let them spend that kind of money. I don't know. I would really like to know. I'm really curious. But, again, my name is Goose. You've been watching On With The Show. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all on the other side.